Chris, you can go ahead.
All right, we are live.
Okay, the April 29th, 2022 Oregon State Lottery Commission meeting is now in session. It's noted for the record that commissioners are attending this meeting via the web, and a quorum of commissioners is present for today's meeting. Today's meeting is being live streamed on the internet, and a link is posted on the Oregon Lottery website. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Commissioner Patel,
Here.
Commissioner Ramirez,
Here.
Commissioner Wilcox,
Here.
Chair Sathoff.
Here. Elisa, will you please inform the commission of who else is in the meeting?
Yes, we have Director Barry Pack, Kathy Stromberg, Carrie Hemphill, Chris Scarro, Matt Shelby, Mike Wells, Monique Favre, Sar Richards, Ty Calandrello, and Wendy Johnson from DOJ.
Thank you. Members of the public had the opportunity to provide written public comment to the commission for this meeting. Can the clerk please confirm that no public comment was received?
That is correct. We did not receive any public comment.
Thank you. With that, we'll move to commissioner communications. And I'm opening this up for any comments or communications the other commissioners would like to provide at this time. Hearing none, we will move to the director's report. Director Pack.
Thank you, Chair Sathoff, commissioners. I'll start with some lottery news. After more than 2 years, the lottery office will fully reopen to employees next week on Monday, May 2nd. Things will look and feel different than they did when we locked the doors back in March of 2020. Prior to the pandemic, we basically had two groups of employees, those who worked at headquarters of Wilsonville and those who worked in the field. Now we have fully remote, hybrid, in-office and field. C groups and types remains a top priority for our modern work team supporting this transition. It will take some time to fully adjust to our new work environment, but I'm confident we will. If nothing else, the past couple of years has shown the resiliency, flexibility, and dedication of our lottery staff. Another milestone, Monday of this week marked the 37th year the Oregon Lottery has been selling tickets. It was on April 25th, 1985, that the Pot of Gold Scratch It went on sale, making it the first Oregon Lottery game to be offered. Over those 37 years, the lottery has earned revenues of $29.7 billion, has awarded over $45 billion in prizes, transferred nearly $14 billion to lottery beneficiaries, including more than $3 billion to economic development, $8 billion to Oregon public schools, including outdoor school, more than $890 million to state parks, the same amount to watershed enhancement, $72 million to veteran services, and $120 million to problem gambling treatment and awareness. Coos Bay Public Schools' Melinda Torres recently was named Oregon Educational Support Professional of the Year. Melinda is the liaison supporting students who are in foster care or are experiencing houselessness for the Coos Bay School District. Melinda manages the ARC, Keeping At-Risk Kids Afloat project, a school-based program supporting youth and families experiencing housing instability in the Coos Bay School District, and provides case management for youth and families. The legislature created Oregon's Education Support Professional of the Year program in May of 2019, honoring an Oregon's education support professional serving students in any grade from pre-K through grade 12. As part of the program, the lottery provides a monetary prize to the winner, as well as creating most of the support materials, including the program's website. Speaking of recognizing highly qualified professionals, for the 5th year, the Oregon Lottery joined other state agencies in recognizing the Ambassador of Public Services Award. The recipients of this award embody the 4 statewide competencies of accountability, equity, excellence, and integrity. This year, I am happy to announce that we had a record number of nominations for that award, with 31 lottery employees nominated. That's too many for me to read as part of my report today, so I'm just going to announce the 3 winners. However, the full list of nominated employees will be posted to the website as part of the record of today's meeting. Without further ado, Lottery's 2022 ambassadors of public service are David Sessman, Kyle Crocker, and Diana Villegas. Congratulations to the 3 of them and to all the staff who are nominated. The ambassadors of public service get recognized as part of a virtual meeting with Governor Kate Brown in May. Since our product teams are here today with the sales and quarterly performance update, I'll skip my sales update for this month and close with 3 winners. Charles Liston II of Drain won his prize playing his wife's and his birthday numbers in Keno. Charles has been playing Keno for about 15 years and loves the game. With his prize of $70,142.10, Charles has his eye on a boat to go crabbing. Charles bought his winning ticket at the CG Market in Drain. Lorraine Randolph won $30,000 playing Mega Millions. Lorraine is no stranger to winning with the Oregon Lottery. She had previously won a $53,000 prize in 2017 playing Lucky Lines. With her latest winning ticket in her purse, Lorraine drove 2 hours, quote, in the hail to claim her Mega Millions prize. Lorraine bought her winning ticket at Ray's Food Place number 17 in Myrtle Creek. And finally, Christopher Meyer, $10,000 giraffe bingo scratch it winner. Christopher of Cottage Grove and his significant other decided to buy 6 giraffe bingo tickets. 2 days later, they thought they might have a big winner. Going to the lottery's app to check their ticket, they discovered they had indeed won big, as their ticket was a $10,000 top prize for that game. Christopher bought his winning ticket at American Market number 8 in Cottage Grove. And that concludes my report for this month.
Thank you, Barry. I just wanted to make a couple of comments on your comments. I'd like you all to know how proud I am of the lottery. This anniversary that you mentioned and frankly the dollar numbers you mentioned, that we do such wonderful things for key programs in the company in the state, both constitutionally dedicated programs as well as other social programs. And these numbers, although I think in the back of our minds we've all known them, are just amazing. So really very proud to be part of this. I also wanted to make a note that I want to congratulate all the nominees. That's a lot of nominees for ambassador, but David, Kyle, and Diana, just wonderful. Thank you so much, and thank you for representing us so well. With that, unless there are other comments from the commissioners, we'll move to the minutes. I'll give it a minute here. Okay. We'll move to the minutes of the previous commission meeting. The minutes of the previous commission meeting have been circulated to the commission in advance of the meeting. If there are no changes to the minutes, is there a motion to approve?
I move that the minutes of the Oregon State Lottery Commission meeting held on March 25th, 2022 be approved as final as presented today.
Do I have a second?
Second.
And will the clerk call the roll?
Commissioner Patel,
Aye.
Commissioner Ramirez,
Aye.
Commissioner Wilcox,
Aye.
Chair Safoff.
Aye. For the record, the motion has passed. With that, I know that Kathy Ortega was not able to be with us today, but Monique Favre, and Monique, I hope I got your name right, will be stepping in for Kathy to provide us with the financial report.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Chair Safoff, Commissioners, Director Pack. For the record, my name is Monique Favre, Financial Reporting Manager for the Oregon Lottery. I am presenting on behalf of Kathy Ortega, who is out today. Today, we will go over the financial report for the month of March. On the operating statement for March, the net revenues for the month are $129.6 million on a budget of $113.7 million. This is a $15.9 million favorable variance to budget. The negative variances to note are commissions, game vendor charges, other income, and services and supplies. Commission variances were caused from both a better than forecasted sales volume, roughly 12.6%, and offset by lower actual video commission rates. Our current sports betting budget for game vendor charges was based on the lottery's continued use of the scoreboard platform. As a result, we have incurred a 5% higher game vendor charge rate than expected for March, resulting in 1.8 million in additional charges. From a year-to-date perspective, rates are more in line with what we expected, resulting in additional expenses of 800,000. Budget for other income is based on interest earned and cash on hand balances. Cash on hand has improved compared to FY21, driving the year-to-date favorable variance. Within services and supplies, higher than expected gasoline prices created the unfavorable variance for the month. Increased gasoline costs and vehicle repairs have driven the unfavorable variance year to date.
That's the fleet expense. That's the fleet expense you're talking about, correct?
Yes, exactly. Yes.
Sorry to interrupt.
No worries. From there, we have one quarterly budget adjustment to include for commission approval. Through the end of FY22, we are accruing $1.2 million monthly in additional PERS expense, increasing salaries and wages. This is in preparation for the FY22 pass-through entries provided at a statewide level upon determination of lottery's percentage share. Net profit for the month is 87.4 million on a budget of 74.8 million. This is a variance of 12.6 million favorable to budget. Moving on to the year-to-date operating statement. Net revenues year-to-date are 1.1 billion on a budget of 1 billion. This is a $28.3 million favorable variance to budget. Net profits year-to-date are 705.8 million on a budget of 655.2 million. This is a $50.6 million favorable variance to budget. I also have the balance sheet for your consideration. That's everything that I have, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Okay, questions or comments from the commission?
Yeah, I don't have a question, but I would like to comment that I'm very impressed with how well the direct expenses are being managed, you know, with all the challenges with the inflation, with some pressures on revenue. So, you know, to keep that net profit up, I'm really impressed by how nimble the organization is to control the costs.
Yeah, thank you. So agree. Any other comments or questions from the commission? All right. Is there a motion to approve the financial statements?
I move that the Oregon State Lottery financial statements for the month ended March 31st, 2020, including the changes to the FY22 budget, be approved for the record as presented today.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Will the clerk call the roll?
Commissioner Patel,
Aye.
Commissioner Ramirez,
Aye.
Commissioner Wilcox,
Aye.
Chair Safoff.
Aye. For the record, the motion has passed. And Monique, thank you so much for stepping in for Kathy. And I just wanted to make a note that in the operating statements, it does, obviously we're seeing a little bit of a degradation in the traditional and the sports, but I'm assuming that the presentation on our product and performance at the end, we can, there's some comments in there and we can address that then. But again, thank you for stepping in for Kathy.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. And with that, we will move to rulemaking with Chris Scarrow.
Thank you. Chair Safoff, Commissioners, Director Pack. Good afternoon. For the record, my name is Chris Scarrow, Rules and Policy Analyst for the Lottery, and I have two rulemaking updates this month. First, as we discussed back at the February Commission meeting, the Lottery had proposed some amendments to our Powerball rules. The purpose of the changes is to align with recently revised muscle rules that govern the multi-jurisdictional draw game of Powerball. And Muscle, for those who aren't familiar, is the multi-state lottery association of which lottery is a member, and therefore, generally speaking, our rules need to be consistent. So briefly, the changes that we propose clarify when changes to the grand prize amount take effect. We update the prize payout percentage chart, and we explain the funding mechanism in the unlikely event the typical prize accounts are insufficient. So as you can tell, these are fairly technical changes in nature, and we don't expect them to change the game for our players. We have completed the public rulemaking process. Briefly for the record, we filed notice with the Secretary of State on March 25th. We notified various folks as required by law. We provided 4 weeks for the public to comment in writing, and we held a public rulemaking hearing. All that being said, we do not receive any public comment for the commission to consider. Director Pack has reviewed the proposed changes and does recommend the commission adopt the rules as they're presented to you in your meeting materials today to take effect on May 1st. 2022. I'm happy to answer questions if you have them. Otherwise, when you're ready, you should have a motion in your materials.
Thanks, Chris. Questions or comments from the commission? Chris, as you mentioned it, they're kind of technical. I just want to make sure I sort of got the gist. Basically, we're committing to this funding in a situation that we don't think is going to occur, but if they have not enough in their reserve account, we, as a member, like all members, would step up and contribute to rectify that. And it's kind of a contractual obligation, is what it sounds like. Is that right?
Yes. So my understanding is that this has been long-standing practice for Muscle, and they recently put it into their rules. Our finance folks were familiar with this possibility, so I think it's always been there. It's more of an issue with brand new games. So they recently rolled out a new game that Oregon did not join, but there's a startup period where sales have not fully filled the prize accounts, and so they were realizing it would be important to just document this, and so that's how we got here.
Makes sense. I just want to make sure I was getting it. So thank you. If there are no comments or questions further from the commission, is there a motion to amend the proposed rulemaking?
I move that OAR 177-085-0025 and OAR 177-085-0035 be amended as presented in the meeting materials today to be effective May 1st, 2022.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Will the clerk call a roll?
Commissioner Patel,
Aye.
Commissioner Ramirez,
Aye.
Commissioner Wilcox,
Aye.
Chair Sathoff.
Aye. For the record, the motion has passed. And Chris, you want to talk to us about the proposed rulemaking?
Yes, thank you, Chair. I had mentioned briefly at the last commission meeting that back in December, we adopted temporary rules governing our sports betting game, and those rules allowed us to finalize our contract with DraftKings and go ahead and move our game over to the platform, which we did on January 18th, and we're now proposing to permanently adopt those rules. So we did file notice with the Secretary of State to that effect on March 29th, and we notified various folks, and we're continuing to take comment on these rules. And so I wanted to provide them in full in your meeting materials for those who are interested. They are substantively quite similar to the rules governing scoreboard, but nevertheless wanted to provide those. And I will plan to report back to you next month after the rulemaking process is completed. So happy to answer questions for you. Otherwise, that's all I have for you this month on rulemaking.
Thanks, Chris. I did note that I appreciated the lead-in materials. That gives us kind of refreshes our memory on a lot of the stuff with DraftKings. And I particularly appreciate the notes on the benefits we see that we're getting in moving to this direction. But certainly we have this two-step process. And I think with respect to this one, we've had other discussions besides just our formal two-step process.
Sorry about that.
No, that's a good thing, Chris. But if any other commissioners have any questions or comments for Chris, certainly ask them now, or you'll get that opportunity in the next meeting as well. Okay, hearing none at this time. Let's move to, Chris, thank you. And let's move to staff updates with Carrie Hemphill and Sar Richards. Hemphill, sorry about that.
Cool. Thank you. Good afternoon, Chris, Chair Sathoff, Commissioners, Director Pack. For the record, my name is Sar Richards. I'm the manager of video gaming products for the Oregon Lottery, and I'll be sharing information on our lottery and video product performance. Tina Erickson's on vacation today. The next slide, please. Well, as mentioned earlier, we are seeing some slowing of scratches compared to last year. A part of the incredibly high sales from business year 21 Q3 are very likely attributable to the shutdown of most of the state's video lottery retailers that occurred from roughly mid-November to late January, as well as some really high jackpots on Powerball and Mega Millions also in January 2021. So I know there's some mention of it earlier. Just want to touch on that.
Can I ask a question about that?
Yeah, of course.
It states the video lottery retailer closures 20 to 21. I'm assuming you mean due to COVID, right?
I'm sorry. Yes, I should have been clear. Yes.
Just wanted to make sure it wasn't other types of things.
No. I apologize. No,
that's okay.
Pandemic-related closures that the video lottery retailers experienced in that time frame.
Yeah, thank you.
Help bolster the scratch it sales, and with us back open now, it's going to impact scratches a little bit this year. That's why you're seeing a little bit of a dip.
Yeah, thanks a lot.
No, I apologize for the confusion.
Mm-hmm.
Next slide. Well, wait, going back to the previous slide, we do want to mention that some of our scratch it print vendors are having some paper shortages, and the lottery product team has done a great job doing some long range planning for the year and are managing the paper shortage with vendors by moving games to other vendors who aren't as impacted by the shortages. So I know they've been mentioned about different supply shortages, and that's something that the lottery team is working very closely on. Thanks, Carrie. Keno is looking pretty good, flat over the last year. It's still an increase of about 16.2%. It's bolstered really by some great 8-spot jackpots. 3 of them over 50,000 and 1 reached 88,000. That helped Keno revenue sales over the last quarter. Any questions on Keno? Cool. Jackpot games. Again, we mentioned a little bit earlier, there's some very high jackpots this time last year. Mega Millions was over $1 billion. So we're going to see a little bit of a dip in overall jackpot games performance. We are seeing some good increases on the Monday draws. Mondays are up about 84%. And then this is for Powerball. And Sundays have experienced a lift of about 40% since the change. Other weekdays had a little bit of change in sales, but not much. So overall, it's about 12% over forecast.
So, Sar, just a forecast issue from me, and this is probably more just clarify for me.
Sure.
So we're down on our forecast, and the reason's clear. But when you go to forecast, is it that we don't know what the Mega Millions and Powerball will be, so we can't get? I mean, if we know that when that happens, the jackpot's going to lower, is that integrated into our forecast, or is it because we don't really know at the time we're forecasting what's going to happen on Mega Millions and Powerball, so we can't sort of accurately adjust for that in our forecast? Am I making sense?
You are. And I will take this back. OEA is one of the ones that helps us work out the forecast. And I don't want to misspeak on what all the items go into it. I know they do consider history and they do look forward, but I don't want to. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, let me jump in. I'm not going to answer the question.
Thanks, Ray.
Yeah, no problem. For the jackpot games, OEA essentially forecasts a flat revenue forecast based on historic sales
see.
trends because there's no way to predict the volatility of the jackpot. High jackpots really drive sales up,
Mhm.
but if it gets hit at 100 million or 200 million and resets, it's impossible to predict.
Thank you. So Barry, historically, when we look at these, like the dip, right? I mean, we don't, you would always obviously tell us if, well, even though we know this trend happens, this is an inordinate dip, or this is a very significant dip beyond historical levels. So it sounds like what we're doing is we forecast based on historical levels, but if we saw something significantly different than historical levels, we would know about it.
You would, and at a national level, the Powerball Game Group gets monthly reports on annual sales compared to prior years. So we look at each roll of the jackpot and see where we are in terms of sales, prize accumulation, and prize value. So we're able to see whether we have significant differences, or if roll to roll we're seeing something troubling in sales that's not keeping pace with what's expected.
Thank you.
Anything more on jackpots? Thank you, Barry.
Yep.
All right, then we'll move over to video where I can speak a lot clearer and better on product performance.
Hold on, it froze. It's not letting me go forward. 1 second. There we go.
All right, one forward. All right, well, video had a great quarter. We did have our best week ever, the week ending March 5th. That did correspond to the launch of Big City 5's Diamond. We did launch that game according to our normal launch strategy for the time of year. This game, the launch benefiting from tax season and the retailer base being fully open, like we discussed earlier, fully open from the COVID restrictions that we had previously. Initially, the game generated the highest levels of state transfers, commissions, lottery revenue relative to the rest of our game set. So the game itself has really done a great job buoying overall performance. Next slide, please. And speaking of Big City 5's Diamond itself, as shown here, the Big City 5's Diamond launched. The purple line in the middle of the graph boosted the auction terminal from 3rd place to a strong #1. Over time, the game has behaved similarly to other games and has settled down, but the terminal has remained in a much better place in the portfolio than it was before. Other metrics of note, this is a $5 game, but even though it is a $5 game, the overall wager, average wager for the terminal hasn't lifted that much from where it was before. And in large part, that's because of, unlike the previous version or the current version of Big City 5's, a player doesn't have to bet max to be eligible for the top award or to go up to that $25,000 top award. So unlike, say, like the current version, where you have to spend $2 in order to get to 10,000, you don't have to spend $5 to be eligible for the 25,000. I hope that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
And if you notice the two lower lines, those are the E20 and the V32, and we're going to be doing game launches to bolster those up as well, starting here in May. I'm sorry, Carrie, now next slide. I also want to touch on a little bit the Big City 5's Diamond RG features. Whenever we consider a new game, new feature, or new configuration, we always carefully consider responsible gaming, guided not only by our responsible gaming code of practice, but also our product specs, which require several RG features for our products. One of the specifications is the video lottery game must provide players with the ability to toggle between the cash or credits display on their bank. Shown here is the same bank on Big City 5's Diamonds in credits and dollars. Here on the left of the screen, 2,000 credits equates to $100. Lottery's RG player outreach routinely focuses on encouraging the choice to use the cash display to enable budget tracking. With this game, we are also able to include in-game RG messaging for the first time, as we have research to suggest that this type of interruptive messaging can be really effective. Any questions on anything video? I know I went through that pretty quick.
So I knew we did this, but I hadn't actually seen a visual of it before. So I just want to, basically, people need to make decisions up front, and then they make a decision, and then if they help me understand,
Sure.
I'm assuming that sort of cuts them off somehow, or at least asks them to, if they want to go further than the decision they made, stop and think about it. Is that correct?
Are you talking about the pop-up message here?
Yeah.
Well, this is the first time we've used it, and you're right. That was one of the things that we wanted to make sure we reinforce RG even more is when a player goes into it, because it does have a higher potential max wager.
Mhm.
Remind everyone to make sure that you keep it fun, you set your budget, you set your timeline before you start going. And that was the kind of purpose of this, is to reiterate that RG message that Stacy and her team did such a great job putting out there. We're actually putting it now in that game just as a
Mhm.
indicator.
I like this. I mean, I like what we're doing there. So
Yeah, I like it a lot too. It's a neat feature, and we're very happy to put it out there.
mhm. You're right. It was short and quick, but it was a good report. Any questions or comments from the commission?
All right, I'm gonna turn it over to Carrie for sports.
Okay. Hi, everybody. Chair, Commissioner, Director Pack. For the record, my name is Carrie Hemphill, Sports Betting Product Manager. I am here today to give you the sports betting product update for the last quarter. The sports product is still in the middle of its platform transition, with both the scoreboard platform and DraftKings Sportsbook platform remaining active within the last quarter. As the scoreboard platform is still in its wind down phase and not fully closed out, the third quarter numbers shown incorporate both scoreboard and DraftKings platform combined. So what that means in a little more detail is that scoreboard stopped taking wagers on January 18th, but any future wagers previously placed on scoreboard before that date and not yet settled remained and still remain on the scoreboard platform until the event occurs and the wagers settle. Those transactions will be closed out within the scoreboard quarterly reported numbers and combined to the overall reporting until we're able to break down and get down to zero on any of those open wagers.
Mhm.
Over the next couple of quarters, we will be working through the sunsetting of these open wagers and will edge closer to officially closing the scoreboard platform down at a later to be determined date. With that said, this past quarter numbers show a significant bump when compared to those of 2021. Year over year for Q3, the sports betting product saw a 35% increase in number of bets played and a 32% increase in turnover. The quarter margins thinned a bit year over year, but still managed to post a solid 7.9% margin overall, and with gross gaming revenue nearly 9.5 million, up from the forecasted 9 million, which was the result after seeing nearly $120 million in wagers over the last 3 months. The sports betting product saw a 13.1% increase from Q3 of last year. Similar to last quarter's product update, basketball and football were the primary sports of the quarter. Basketball led the way with 60.7 million in turnover and a GGR of 3.9 million. The football growth numbers were driven as expected by Super Bowl in February. The slide shows some of the impressive year-over-year increases from this year's Super Bowl stats, including number of bets was up over 78%, turnover up over 51%, unique active players up over 65%, and gross gaming revenue was up over 31%. The excitement of the transition to the DraftKings platform, as expected, along with the addition of expanded betting options and better platform functionality, such as same game parlays that we are now able to offer, all contributed to these impressive increases. To toss just a few other sport notes out there, ice hockey, soccer, and tennis also performed very well. And the remaining sports menu within the platform, such as MMA and table tennis, got a lot of interest as well. It's a little lower than last quarter, but we're still doing okay. Looking ahead into the last business quarter of Q4, although we have seasonality ahead of us within the next few months where we can anticipate seasonal slowness, we are coming into a few highlights on the horizon. The first, with migration to the DraftKings platform complete, we will have a full quarter of data flowing in to analyze and better evaluate the platform's performance and ongoing growth potential. And second, just a heads up of sports coming that will bring some excitement. Major League Baseball, the season began earlier this month. We have the NBA playoffs and finals going on that'll carry through the next couple months. NHL playoffs are continuing, or actually upcoming the first week of May. And then NASCAR is having their Xfinity race, which will be held in Portland this year at the Portland International Raceway on June 4th. And that's expected to bring some local excitement for race car fans. And with that, that's the product update. Any questions?
Questions or comments from the commission? Carrie, although we were down a little on revenue for budget, it sounds to me like that's really attributed to the move to the DraftKings platform, and that this all looks very positive going forward. Am I reading all of this correctly?
Yes, that's correct. The charges were based on activity that took place, which includes the third-party fees and such as data licensing and all that, as well as activity fees based on product use. And the reason for the increased charges mentioned is based on activity. We didn't really have the new expected revenue fully vetted out based on the DraftKings contract when the budget was finalized.
Okay, thank you. That's a good reminder. Thank you. Any other questions for Carrie or comments? Okay,
Wonderful.
thank you. So unless there is any other business that anyone would like to raise at this time, and I'll give everyone a minute. Hearing none, this concludes today's meeting of the Oregon State Lottery Commission. The next meeting is scheduled on Friday, May 20th. Thank you all for attending today's meeting, and I hope you all have a great weekend. The meeting is adjourned.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, Barry, and thank you to your team. Great job again.